Hello, in this video we'll cover how to access Azure Blob files via Teradata's QueryGrid. The agenda for this video is to do an overview of all the different steps involved, and then we'll go over each individual step and we'll provide a quick demo. So the first thing we're going to do is obtain the Azure access key and storage account name, and then we'll go over where to find that in the Azure portal. We also need to make sure we place the files that we need in Azure Blob storage, and we'll go over that as well. The next thing we do is we add Azure parameters to our Hive site XML, and we need to download some required jar files, and we do the same thing with Presto. We add some information to a Presto catalog, download some jar files. We create a Hive table based upon the Azure Blob storage that we have. And we also make sure that QueryGrid connector is pointing to the correct Presto catalog and Hive schema. We also create our foreign server if you haven't already created it. And lastly, we use Teradata Studio to query directly out of Azure Blob storage files. So first, we obtain our access key and storage account. This can be done through the Azure portal under storage accounts and access keys. You're going to need your storage account name and one of your keys. Next, we're going to add the Azure parameters to your Hive site XML. So you're going to need a Hive metastore in order to do this. So in this example, I have a Hortonworks sandbox. I've added my 3 different parameters I need. The first one and the last one are so Hive knows how to access Azure, and the middle one is the account and the password. That is why it's grayed out. And we also need to add some jar files into the Hive library directory. And this example I have for this Hortonworks sandbox is this directory down here. And I'll link this, I'll have all this information in the video description. Next thing we need to do is add some information so Presto can access this as well. So we, under the catalog file that you're going to use, in this example I have hive.properties. I'm going to add a Hive config resources parameter in here. I'm going to point it to a file that I've created that mirrors the Hive site XML. The only thing we need in here is the account key and the password, so Presto knows how to access that information. The second part for Presto is to add those same jar files to the Presto. There's a directory out here for libraries, so we're actually using the Hive Hadoop catalog. So we're going to add the plugin. We're going to add those jar files into this directory. So as far as configuration for Hive and Presto, you're done. The next thing we're going to do is create an external table. We're going to use the location feature in here. We're going to point it to the WASB. Here's my container name that I have in Blob storage, and this is going to be my account. I have that X'd out, and then I actually have a folder called customer, and I'll show you that in just a second. Once I create this table, I can actually test this out. So I can say select star from the customer blob. It's going to pull the data directly from those files out on Azure and display them to you. The next thing we do is make sure we have Teradata's QueryGrid pointing to the correct catalog and schema name. So the catalog is out of Presto, and the schema name that we have where we created our Hive table. In this example, I have a schema under Hive called XADemo. And so over here on the right hand side, you can see that I am using a catalog called Hive Properties. So that correlates the catalog name. And then I'm using something called customer here. So we also need to create a foreign server if we haven't already. In my demo, I already had a foreign server created. This is basically pointing to that Presto Hive catalog. And then lastly, I use Teradata Studio to select from the customer blob, similar that I did in Hive, except for now it's going to be using QueryGrid, which is powered by Presto. And so here's the information that comes back in Teradata Studio. And on the right hand side, I use something called the Storage Explorer, the Azure Storage Explorer. And I'm showing that I have my container called TD QueryGrid blob. And then I have a file out here called customer CSV, and I opened it up to show that this information in this file is matching what I'm bringing back from the query. So the next thing I want to do is show how this all works. I'm going to pull up a couple different windows here. First is going to be Teradata Studio Express. Down here I have two different files out here, customer 1, customer 2. I already have customer 1 out here on the blob storage. As you can see, this customer 1. So if I come back over here to Studio, I'm going to run select star from that customer blob. Here's the information I have coming back, and it's reading out of this customer file. So if I upload another file here, I'm going to go ahead and add the files that I want are here. So we'll go ahead and do this, and we'll add customer blob. We want it in customer, and we want to say go ahead and upload. And now we have customer 2 out here. So if I select star from this table, we should have both of the files coming back. And there they are. So it's pretty easy with those different steps. And that concludes the video. Thank you.